We are living in an era of customer expectations, and the expectation right now is there is a hot lunch out there. And these three people are just kind of between this group and the lunch. So we are extremely mindful of that, and we'll try to make it happen. But coming back to it, expectations these days are constantly being shaped by technology. We are so close, we are so wrapped up with all the tech around us, right? And at the center of that tech lies a very core pivotal intersection that is shaping all of this, right? And no, we are not talking AI, of course. We would have loved to. We hear that, but AI is not the end of life. There is a much bigger life beyond that. And today we are talking about the code, the cloud, the data, and the intersection of it, and how that is propelling the overall, what we are calling experience multiverse, right? We have two esteemed leaders who are in their own spaces, working with bigger organizations and really bringing all of it together to shape up the whole future of this, right? So we try to get their perspectives. We have a few thoughts that we have exchanged, and we'll try, deep dive more on that. The goal is by at the end of this whole session, which tells us about 20 minutes, but we'll try and squeeze some more time, right? Just kidding, no, we'll get to that lunch. So the goal is to just identify how we are bringing all of this, the code, the cloud, and the data together, and creating an experience multiverse for the end customers, right? But let's get some warm-up. Let's get the gentlemen kind of do some sort of warm-up. We have been sitting for some time. Just to start, and any of you can start, Gaurav, Vijay, how do you see the code, the cloud, and the data collectively reshaping the way organizations are thinking, going from just being technology engineering to experience?
Okay, I'll take a shot at it first. So I just take 10 seconds to explain what multiverse means to me. Okay, I mean, it's a good buzzword to understand. So in today's world, we have moved forward from an omnichannel environment to a more complex environment, which is called it multiverse, right? So it means that we have a phygital environment where the physical and the digital world meet with each other. Okay, we do online shopping and then go in the store and buy the stuff. Then we have augmented reality and virtual reality. We do try-ons for the product we want to buy. We see virtually how they will look in my house if I'm buying a furniture. And then we have the ambient environment. Just call Alexa and half of the job is done, right? I mean, he's from Wipro. The lights in my house get switched on with Alexa and their product. Right? So that's the beauty of multiverse. And that's what brings customer delight because I am happy. End of the day, I am happy. Now there are three pillars, and Kaushik, to your question, in my opinion, these three pillars are not separate. They have, fused into a single symbiotic engine, in my opinion, right? The code being the data and the fabric layer, where the whole business logic resides. The cloud is the fundamental infrastructure which gives us the flexibility, scalability, elasticity, right? So that this multiverse can exist, right? You can access anything, anywhere, anytime. And the third is data, which is the lifeblood. So the logic works if you have smart data. So if you combine all these three together, then it's an engine which will help you build this multiverse and bring delight to any customer or rather a consumer of a product or a service. That's what I believe. Vijay?
Yeah. Well, in my perspective, if you just look at what is customer delight, right? Customer delight is the choices which you give to the customer when they use a product or a service. And that's where, for example, if you buy a new product, right, and that has a set of features, and you like something else, you want new features to be coming to the product. Click of button, you get the new feature. That's customer delight, right? For example, let's say, take an example from automotive. You are going for a weekend trip, right? And you want an autonomous vehicle driving feature, autopilot, for example, to be enabled in your vehicle. Click a button, and it is possible. That is customer delight. Similarly, if you're using any product or service, you find an issue. You report the issue. The next day, seamlessly, the updates are available in your devices, product or service, whichever you're using. It's available. You don't have to repeat. You don't have to go back to the customer or the provider again. These are the customer delight. And the combination of code, cloud, and data together in all the things which Gaurav also talked about, brings it together and gives this customer delight. That's my perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Gaurav. That was more of like a warm-up and sort of a teaser of what's to come. But let's start with Gaurav and dive a bit deeper. GlobalLogic is deeply involved in co-creating, products and digital platforms for global enterprises, right? And we see a very rapid convergence of software engineering and customer experience. They are no longer two silos, right? How do you see the role of software engineering in evolving as organizations shift from, kind of just having it as a discipline and more as a pivotal role for engineering customer experience?
Okay, good question. So definitely there is a big evolvement in terms of the way we deliver our services to the customer. And as you rightly mentioned, the amalgamation of design thinking and engineering is what our forte is, right? So if I compare 5 years ago and what we are today, with AI being an enabler to all our services that we offer to our customers, instead of becoming just a feature assembler, we have evolved into architects of customer outcomes. Okay? So as an engineering team, earlier used to be feature assemblers. What I mean by that, let's take a double dip on that, right? 2-3 points I want to elaborate here. Earlier we used to consume the backlog, build a feature or a story, and was measured on velocity. In today's world, the engineers are supposed to understand why this feature is new. The answer to why has to be there. How the impact of my feature will make on a customer outcome for the final product that I'm going to deliver, right? Now, in order to make that happen, the teams also have to evolve, right? So we have to create cross-functional teams. What I mean cross-functional teams, in the earlier world, we used to create pods, which will have a front-end engineer, a back-end engineer, a test engineer, or an automation engineer, we call it. And then we have horizontal teams for performance testing, product management, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these cross-functional squads means a self-sufficient squad, which will have a data analyst, because data is the currency today, a product owner, and then these experts on the front end, back end, or SDETs as we call it today, right? So these are self-sufficient squads that will operate, and one squad is responsible for a customer journey. One squad will deliver onboarding as a journey. Another one will deliver payments as a journey, right? So these are self-sufficient, self-reliant, they can take their own decisions. That's the second change that we have seen. The third change is, we are talking about customer delight experiences, right? So the engineers need not to be the experts of a technology, but they need to be full stack experience engineers, as we call them, okay? What I mean by that is that you need to be a Java expert or a React expert, but along with that, you need to have a little bit of business acumen. If you are delivering a project for a healthcare customer vis-a-vis a manufacturing customer, you need to understand how that industry operates, because then only you will be able to add value to the outcome. And secondly, you need to have a little bit of data literacy, because data will be thrown. You need to understand the data, interpret it, and make the best use of it, right? So that is the third point. And the last one is, and no offenses to anyone actually, the last one is that we need to own the impact. The mindset that we have to change in our engineering teams is that we have to own the impact. Earlier it was, you build it, they run it. So there was a build team, there was a run ops team. Now it is, you build it, you run it. You own end to end. The run ops is also part of the engineering team itself. So these are some of the changes that we have learned from our experience and brought into our day-to-day experience while delivering these projects.
No, awesome. And I think the paradigm shifted, where we have the experience of our end consumers at the center, and then everything else kind of gets stitched around it. But that's an interesting take, and Vijay, let me come to you. Software-defined everything. We hear of SDX a lot, and it's kind of rewriting the whole digital playbook.
Yeah.
What it is, I mean, would you be able to help us kind of decode it a bit, understand more, and how is this helping both the teams who are building it as well as the consumers?
Yeah, sure. So let me dumbify it. Very simple. What is software-defined everything is when you completely change the perspective in which you look at the product or a service, right? You basically segregate things which are closer to the hardware, things which are closer to the user, right? So basically you can talk about it in 3 planes. One is control plane, which is taking care of all your infrastructure, what hardware, sensors, actuators, what is connected to the product. You can think about data plane, which is generating the data, which is useful for generating intelligence, building use cases, services on top of it. And then finally, delivering the customer experience, which is the application layer on top. Right? So that is the kind of a very dumbified version of what software-defined product brings. It adopts a lot of cloud principles in an embedded device. So an embedded device currently is kind of limited by the resources it has, right? With this integration, what is happening is you have a future-proof, scalable, and flexible platform. You can leverage not only the resources which are there in the device, you can also leverage the resources which are around the device, like, for example, edge and cloud. Right? Edge is the near-end servers, for example. Let's say think about an automotive case, the 5G infrastructure itself can provide you compute capacity. In case it is healthcare, for example, the hospital IT infrastructure can bring the capacity. In case of industrial, for example, there'll be industrial IT infrastructure, which can be the edge server for you. And of course, the cloud is there. All these are scalable platform. And this is what makes it future-proof, right? So any number of features which you want to deploy on these devices, you should be able to deploy. Where the feature runs does not really matter because it can be seamlessly moved from device to edge to the cloud without the end user really realizing or even needing to realize that where it is running from. What they basically care about is the result, right? So this is the kind of perspective software-defined vehicle brings, or software-defined products brings in overall.
Sure. So you mentioned features, right? And let's stay on with features. And then we also spoke about experience, and Gaurav mentioned the importance of the real-time decision making. Now, Vijay, I'll stay with you. How do you see kind of software-defined systems having the data-driven intelligence, and how these two shake hands?
Yeah, so one important perspective software-defined products brings in is how do you bring innovation closer to the device? That is point number one. But apart from that also, from overall, you see data is kind of driving the whole industry, right? And the intelligence which you can derive out of this data is the basic fuel for enabling all the killer applications around, right? So in case of software-defined product, there are possibilities of collecting this intelligence on the device, running the kind of AI models, combination of AI, traditional AI, deep learning, as well as embodied and agentic AI, for example, which is like a new things which are happening. All of these put together can be there on your device, on the edge, or on the cloud, bringing the intelligence throughout, end to end. It can also be for your validation and data collection engine, which is running right there and bringing the intelligence to the industry and the provider for later use, for making the product better and better every day, right? So that's kind of
awesome. No, thank you. And keeping all of that together, there's a lot that you unpacked for us. Gaurav would love to understand now, high-speed delivery and quality of engineering are not known to be good friends, right? Usually. Times are changing. How are they changing? Because both of them are very critical to bring about the superior customer experience, the delight that we are talking about, right? So what are some of the best practices for our software engineers to balance the speed and the quality of innovation?
It's an excellent question, actually. So I will not say best practices. I would say practices that has worked for us as an organization, right? As an engineering organization, the practices that has worked for us. Number one, and I will tie this all together in the end. Number one is having a platform thinking in the whole team. When I say platform, I'm not talking about a technology platform. I'm referring to an experience platform. So when we design platform or a product, as an engineer, I have to think that, my experience on a mobile app vis-a-vis a kiosk, in-store kiosk will be same or not. That's a platform thinking. How do I build a platform, right? The second one, which I think was pioneered by Google, was an SRE mindset. which essentially means that you build your teams and your process in such a way that it is self-sufficient and data-driven. For example, if I'm building a website, then one of the matrices is 99% of the time, the page load should happen within 500 milliseconds. Now, if the outcome that is defined, then an engineer will try to deliver that outcome, and we leave them to work on their own. They can refine, innovate, leverage AI, whatever. Outcome has to be measured, right? So there are no silos created. If there is a downtime happening in production, then there is no who did the mistake. What went wrong is the question that the team answers, right? That's number one. Number two is, in terms of building these platforms, you need to bring in more and more of automation. So we call it the automation paved road. From code commit to production, everything has to be automated, right? You leverage microservices to build resilient systems which are very decoupled in nature, but automation should be part of your scope, not a wish list. That's how you build these systems. And in today's world, comprehensive CI/CD pipelines, DevOps is the core fundamental of automation, right? So you can leverage that. The third thing is, after doing all this, you start measuring it. How do you do that? You build in real-time observability into these systems. So the matrices have to be defined, which can give you real-time insights of the performance of the feature that you have just deployed, which is a technical performance, plus also the business outcomes. So the matrices have to be designed together, right? So the whole paradigm of shift left, which we have lived and experienced in last few years, in our opinion, it is changing to 4 quadrants actually. So shift left is bringing in more automation, right? Then shift right is bringing in more observability so that you can start becoming a little proactive, right? Shift up is bringing this mindset change of SRE mindset, the platform mindset that I'm referring to. And the new one that we are venturing into is shift deep, which is more AI driven, where we leverage the historical data of similar platforms where we have delivered such experiences, and based on the historical data, analyze and predict something so that we can become more and more shift left. So it has changed, and that is what, I don't call it best practices, the practices that has worked for us.
So if I kind of just do a one-liner, complex needs translated to simple user experiences, very quickly, would you have any example from, let's say, GlobalLogic that you could share with us?
Yeah. So this was for one of the automotive OEMs, and the problem statement that they brought to us on the table was that for different segments of the car, their, the entertainment system was not bringing in the right experience or delight for their customers, right? That was the problem given to us. What we helped them build is a digital cockpit platform. What I mean by that? So we leverage the platform thinking so that the experience that a customer get, in the car through that infotainment system is same, whether he is driving a starter sedan or a luxury SUV. The experience has to be exactly the same. That's what platform thinking is. Decoupled architecture, complete microservices, climate control is a microservice, navigation is a microservice. Depending upon which car it is, the same service with different features can be rolled out very fast, right? The third is cloud and data, which we are referring to since today. So cloud, obviously, for over-the-air updates, which is very common today. Data, what we did was created a data pipeline based on the usage data that was put into the pipeline. We fed it into an AI engine, which used to give a lot of predictions and personalization, depending upon my usage from home to office, which is the best route today that will work. And it is not only Bangalore, across cities now that is becoming a problem, I would say. So that is one example. And the fourth one was bringing in the experience. So the platform was able to sync with your smartphone. So if the car is shared within the family, based on the driver profile, the platform will actually load your infotainment system with your own personalized, say, Spotify playlist or something like that. So that's how we delivered this whole experience by leveraging technology. And it's live.
It's live.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of the people in this room are actually enjoying that.
Awesome. Vijay, coming back to you very quickly, going back to your thoughts on SDX, what do you see as the biggest innovation opportunities in the overall SDX framework?
So like I mentioned, one is that, of course, it brings innovation closer to the device, right? How it helps from innovation perspective is that you don't really need to wait for a long product development cycle to bring your innovation closer to the, to real world. So you can leverage basically devices which are on the field for testing out your innovation without impacting whatever features and functionalities are already running. And how that is possible is because overall from software-defined platform perspective, we support thing called shadow mode, right? And shadow mode, people might have heard about it, is already that it allows you to run news, applications, services, whatever, on the device without really interfering anything with the existing services, right? So that basically cuts down the cycle, cuts down the cost, right, and brings newer and better product to the market. So our overall vision, if you say, is that how do you make the product better every day? That is our kind of a tagline wish list, that we make the better every day.
Awesome, and small increments every day leads you to the goal.
Yeah.
Right, almost on time, but I cannot let both of you go. I did have a few more, but I'll skip it because it's been very, kind of good and nice feeling so far. Want us to get into a bit of a controversial mode. I will be sharing with you a few quick fires, and this is probably out of the syllabus, right? Feel free to be both provocative and controversial, but very quick answers, either one word or one sentence, right? And you can take turns. Software engineering is evolving from coding products to designing journeys, right? So one emerging tech that will reshape customer experience in the next 3 years.
I would say a combination of embodied AI and agentic is the future to go.
One word for what Vijay said is proactive AI. So you become more proactive to bring in ambient experience. I'll just take an example, another 10 seconds. In today's world, I'm not worried when I leave my house whether I'm carrying a wallet or not. I'm more worried, is my phone fully charged or not, right? So just take an example. I have to go and buy a power bank, okay, and I do a self-checkout. That's a common thing everywhere. How about if my AirPods are plugged in and Siri tells me, based on my historical data, my online research, my store location, etc., that in a particular aisle, there is a different model with the more battery power that is available and is on sale. Why don't you go and pick it up? That's called predictive AI and bring in more customer delights.
Future of customer delight in one word.
Experience as a code.
Since it is predictive, more anticipatory. So the AI should the technology should anticipate what I need rather than responding in a fast manner to my need. More anticipatory.
And which is the strongest driver for the future? Going back to our theme, code, cloud, or data?
Overall, like I said, embodied and agentic looks to be the future. So that's kind of driver for the future.
Awesome. Look, time's up. Any quick last bite?
Yeah, just to your last question, I think data is the brain because we are creating, in the world of creating intelligent beings, I'm not saying robots or human beings, intelligent beings. So data being the brain, the code being the muscle and the nervous system, and the skeleton being the cloud. So creating intelligent being is what the future is.
Awesome, and I think we could not have a better summation of the session than that, right? Gentlemen, thank you so much, and just a metric that we had set for ourselves, we used the word AI only, how many times? Was anyone paying attention? We spoke AI only 4 times, and agentic AI just once in the last 30 minutes. So that was a metric we had for ourselves, right?
Thank you, Kaushik.
Awesome, thanks gentlemen, and thanks Nasscom.
Thank you, everyone.